There's a door that you unlock with the key of your imagination. Beyond it, another dimension, a dimension of sound, a dimension of sight, a dimension of mind. You're entering a land of shadow and substance, of ideas and things. You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone. Thank you, Rod Serling, wherever you are. This story, out of all the stories of San Mateo County history stories, deserves a Rod Serling introduction. My good friends from Daly City, Jerry Nolan and Ed Mahoney, turned me on to this story about 8 years ago. It's the story of the ghost blimp of Daly City. Now we're 8 months into World War II, August 1942. The U.S. Navy is not sure if there's going to be a naval attack from the Japanese fleet on the West Coast or not. There's already been an attack on an oil refinery by one Japanese sub earlier in the year. They're not really sure of how strong the naval fleet of Japan is. So they've commissioned 12 blimps, some of them from the Goodyear Tire Company, to patrol up and down the coast. They are known as Mission Airship Squadron 32. We're at Sunday morning, 6 o'clock, August 16th, 1942. Flight 101 is ready to take off from Treasure Island. The crew, Lieutenant Ernest Cody, 27, and Ensign Charles Adams, age 34. Their mission on this Sunday morning, fly over the Golden Gate, fly to the Farallones, then turn north, survey Point Reyes, and then head back towards the coast. Their mission started uneventfully. I might also add that both of these men were experienced and very capable pilots, which makes this mystery all the more eerie and odd. After they got to the Farallones, they went to Point Reyes, they headed back. About an hour and a half into their mission, they radioed back that they were 4 miles west of the Farallon Islands. 4 minutes later, they radioed that they spotted an oil slick. Those were the last words from Flight 101, the last ever heard by those two pilots. Now, for the next 4 hours, from 7 o'clock to 11 a.m., they were spotted by other planes. They were spotted by fishing boats. And some of them were close enough to say they saw the faces of the pilots. About 3 hours after their last radio contact, Treasure Island got alarmed. They started trying to make radio contact. Beyond the fishing boats and the other ships, they could not make any radio contact at all. Flight 101 was then spotted heading south, 8 miles off course. It sort of dipped. Its canopy dipped into a V, indicating a loss of helium. It dipped down and it came down upon a beach close by the Olympic Club. It lost one of its depth charges. If you can imagine a Mr. Capelvia who took his secluded Sunday morning swims, and looking up at the beach and out of the fog comes an airship, a blimp, 47 feet wide, eye level with them, then rose in the air. It flew over Daly City. Historian Bunny Gillespie was coming home from Sunday school that day and said she saw it on the way home, and hundreds of other people saw it also. It was heading towards San Bruno Mountain, then it veered a little bit to the north, headed for the Daly City Hills, headed this way to Bellevue Avenue, the 400 block. A Mrs. Appleton, according to Ken Gillespie, was in her house when she heard a scraping of chains on the top of her roof. She tried to look out the window, but her entire house was engulfed in darkness from the bulk of the blimp. The blimp hit a crossbar of a telephone pole. Amazingly, it fell, or it descended to the ground right in the middle of this street, hitting no houses and injuring nobody. Immediately, Daly City officials and naval officials congregated on this block to try to rescue the pilots and find out what damage was done. When they entered the gondola of this blimp, the machine gun was there. The suitcase was there carrying the secret codes. The ignition was on. There were 6 hours left to fuel. The radio was on. A microphone was hanging from the gondola. The only thing strange, the safety bar was unhinged, unlatched. The door was open. One more thing. No Lieutenant Cody, no Ensign Adams. As Ken Gillespie said, it was like they vanished in thin air. Right away, theories were developed. There was a lover's quarrel between the two pilots. One murdered the other one and then escaped. But the most plausible one presented by the Navy was maybe there was a mechanical problem outside the gondola. One of the pilots went out to attend to it, another one went out to help. They both fell off and were lost at sea. Those are all theories. After 1 year, both pilots were declared legally dead. The actual ghost blimp was refurbished, remodeled, made airworthy again. If you've watched any sporting events between the years 1968 to 1982, when the Goodyear blimp would fly over the event, you were looking at the ghost ship. That was its mission for those 15 years. It's now residing in the Museum of Naval Aviation in Pensacola, Florida. I don't know about you, but I can't think of a stranger story. This is Mike Casey for San Mateo County History Stories.